Hello and welcome to another episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 63, and I'm recording this on January 11th, 2025. This movie is from the 1936 Oscar year, and I rented it. No, I'm sorry, I did not rent it. It was free on Amazon Prime, free on Amazon Prime. So far, the three movies I've watched have been no cost. There's one more. It's on the Internet Archive, and then the rest I'm going to have to rent. And I also had to buy one on DVD. But this one was called Dodsworth, and I will read a little bit of the Wikipedia here. So, Dodsworth is a 1936 American drama film directed by William Wyler, starring Walter Houston, Ruth Chatterton, Paul Lucas, Mary Astor, and David Niven. And I think maybe David Niven's first movie. He was about 26. Sidney Howard based the screenplay on his 1934 stage adaptation of the 1929 novel of the same name by Sinclair Lewis. Houston reprises his stage role. Center of the film is a study of marriage in crisis. Recently retired auto magnate Samuel Dodsworth and his narcissistic wife Fran, while on a grand European tour, discover that they want very different things out of life, straining their marriage. Film was critically praised, nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actor for Houston, and Best Director for Wyler, first of his record 12 nominations in that category, and 1 for Best Art Direction. In 1990, Dodsworth was included in the annual selection of 25 motion pictures added to the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. Dodsworth was nominated for AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies in 1997 and 2007. Produced by Samuel Goldwyn, cinematography Rudolph Mattei, edited by Daniel Mandel, music by Alfred Newman. See his name a lot. Production company Samuel Goldwyn Productions, distributed by United Artists, released on September 23rd, 1936, and it is 101 minutes. Film was in production during Mary Astor's bitter divorce proceedings over her affair with dramatist George S. Kaufman. She kept a diary, and her husband threatened to have intimate details of the affair read into evidence at the divorce proceedings and in their child custody battle. However, the diary entries were destroyed and could not be used. To avoid the press, Astor lived in her dressing room bungalow during part of the production, working on the film during the day and appearing in court in evening sessions. Ruth Chatterton accompanied her to court. The film was named one of the year's 10 best in the New York Times. Film historian and Turner Classic movie host Robert Osborne named Dodsworth his favorite movie. In his 2007 book, Bambi vs. Godzilla, on the nature, purpose, and practice of the movie business, playwright and director David Mamet cited Dodsworth as being one of 4 movies that he considers perfect films, the other 3 being The Godfather, A Place in the Sun, and Galaxy Quest. So it won for Best Art Direction, nominated for our Outstanding Production, Best Director, Best Actor, Actress in a Supporting Role for Maria Ouspenskaya, Best Sound Recording, and Best Writing. Oh, wow. Jeez. The woman that was nominated for Actress in a Supporting Role played like the mother of a character that Dodsworth's wife is going to marry. She was in it very briefly. So this one, when it started, I thought it was going to be another kind of stuffy, not British, but that sort of, stuffy, old timey, I don't know, relationship kind of movie. And, everybody with their transatlantic accents and everything. And I was looking some things up on IMDb while I was watching, and I was seeing a lot of the reviews there. And people saying, giving it 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 and whatever, and saying it was a very mature film about marriage or a marriage in crisis. And this was at the very beginning, and I was kind of like, yeah, okay. But they were right, folks. It was a very interesting look, especially for the time. I think it was a very interesting look at a marriage falling apart. And the acting was superb. The guy, Walter Houston, that played Dodsworth, was amazing. Mary Astor was good. Ruth Chatterton was good. She was annoying. The character was annoying, like a lot of movies back then and now. there was a pretty big age gap between the leads. And I don't know if it was intended to be that way. Not terribly huge. Like he was 50 something, she was 40 something, I think, or maybe 30 something. I don't know if it was intended to be that way in the movie, but she was basically kind of like sowing her oats in this movie. They were, he retired and they were traveling the world, and she was basically sleeping with any guy that would give her attention. The first guy was David Niven, and he comes onto her and she like slaps him and gets mad, but she wants the attention. And, then at a certain point when she's going to marry the German guy, his mother basically forbids it, the woman that was nominated for supporting actress. And so then she wants to go back to her husband. And in the meantime, he has met Mary Astor, who he met at the very beginning when they were traveling across the ocean to Europe, to England. He met her, and then he meets her again when he's on his own. And the only reason he's still in Europe is because she's going to file divorce proceedings in Europe, in Vienna. So he has to be there for it to go down. And so he's just been kind of traveling around by himself, and he bumps into Mary Astor's character again. And then he starts living with her. And I don't know that they have like a sexual relationship, but with the code and everything, they couldn't really imply that necessarily too heavily. But they had a relationship and they were sort of falling in love. And then the wife comes back and wants him back, and he goes to her and then realizes, well, this is stupid. And he goes back to Mary Astor. Spoilers. So it was like she was just so annoying, the wife, but not unrealistic. None of it was necessarily over the top or too much. It was just she was a lot. So this really was a very good movie. A perfect movie, as David Mamet says, maybe. I mean, there are better, film historians and people, movie watchers than me. Like, I don't always look too deeply into things, and it may just be one where you gotta rewatch it a little bit. It would be worth it just for the guy, just for Walter Houston. He was so good. So I really did like this one a lot. And go as far as the movies I've watched. So I watched Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, Libeled Lady, and Dodsworth. The first two were, Mr. Deeds Goes to Town was almost like a flat out comedy. Libeled Lady, I think, was described at one point as a slapstick. And there were moments of that. So those two were a little goofier. And while I liked them both a lot, they did feel like, movies that slipped in here because there are so many nominated. Dodsworth, to me, feels like a real, like a powerful movie that could be nominated for an Oscar. My point here is to kind of partially just to watch these movies and talk to myself about it on this podcast, but it's not necessarily to debate the merits of the Oscars as a whole, but more so there's nothing I can change about what was nominated and what won. But from this group of 10 movies, which one did I think was the best? Did the winner deserve it as opposed to all the other ones? And it's a little harder with these larger groups of movies because, especially as I'm not watching them all all in a day or all in 5 days or something. It sometimes takes me weeks to get through these movies, and it's harder to remember the earlier ones versus the later ones. So, it's sort of like love the one you're with. And as we get into the ones that are the years that are only 5 movies, that'll probably be a little easier. But again, not debating whether the Oscars as a thing are worthwhile or mean anything. I know they don't mean anything, but just, does, from the movies that were picked, was the one that won, the one that should have won. And I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet on this round, but Dodsworth was very good, and I would put this at the top of the list. I think I would say Dodsworth, Libeled Lady, Mr. Deeds. Mr. Deeds and Libeled Lady are pretty close. So we'll see. Still got 7 more movies to go. Maybe one of the other ones will overtake Dodsworth, but for now, I put that at the top. So that's all I got. I'll see you next time.